Hey YouTube, one who said malicious here, another episode of Dueling like a Swordsman. I'm doing this time a continuation on the video I made of On the Defensive that was discussing some of the most common counters that we have in the meta. Well, this time I wanted to actually take that a little further and just talk about counters in general. What are some of the most powerful cards that can be used against x-sabers in any kind of deck you can face? Like, I try to pick a lot of the cards out there. Well, the most commonly seen ones, and some even like that could be used in the future against us. And I'm gonna be using Dueling Network here for a while. I did wanted to make like the first minute or so with the the iconic map. So that everybody knows that this is an authentic episode. But yeah, I'm going to be using Dueling Network to explain the following cards. I'm going to be also going through the different archetypes. I'm going to be talking about Gladiator Beasts, Black Wings, Insectors a little bit as well, Dark World, Macro, a lot of stuff, Great Keepers as well. So it's going to be like discussing a lot of the common counters that we can face in the meta right now. Some cards that come from the extra deck, some cards come from the main board, most come from the main board, but I also have some extra deck options that that will really hurt us. Actually, I forgot I want one really important. Yeah. Yeah, it's actually this guy. Alright, okay. So, first on the list, we got Gladiator Beast, Retiari. Yeah, sorry, said that wrong. Gladiator Beast Retiari. Gladiator Beast honestly is it's an okay deck against us. It's really not that big of a threat. Until you add this guy and this thing. It was all fun and games because it's like Gladiator Beast and x-sabers are like two little kids in a sand box. They're just playing around, one's hitting the other, and they're just feeding off that, and they're having fun. Because Gladiator Beasts, they like attacking stuff, and x-sabers, they like being attacked. So it's like Gladiator Beasts have a cool game with us, we have a cool game with them, because we both get our effects off, and we both can play our decks to the maximum extreme. But then comes Gladiator Beast and just wants to play unfair and bring some extra toys that are not of our liking, and these are the two most annoying cards in Gladiator Beast right now. The third one is Gladiator Beast Gazzaros, which is down here. I'm going to explain Retiari. Retiari is honestly really annoying because Gladiator Beasts, they attack Dark Soul with any Gladiator Beast, a quest, Laquari, Bestiari, any Gladiator Beast, and then they tag out to Retiari, and they remove the Dark Soul, and then we can't search. So we basically lost a card right there, and we're down to less cards in hand. They got still the same advantage, and they most probably have a Chariot face down or something, and we no longer can be able to get that Dark Soul as easy as we can, because Levier is honestly not that easy to make in our deck, unlike our synchros. How to fight Retiari? Well, honestly, your best bet is having cards like Torrential Tribute, face down, waiting for the Retiari, not letting Gladiator Beast tag out when you know that your Dark Soul is really in trouble. Ember's Blade is a really good card against Gladiator Beast because it allows you to search for the Dark Soul and leave it on the field, and then they're gonna be forced to go into more Meteor to blow it up instead of going into Retiari to remove it from play, or they're gonna just go into Laquari. Laquari or Request or Darius or something like that. But the thing is, you know, as long as you don't have any important cards in the graveyard, Gladiator Beast players are not going to use Retiari. As soon as you see a Retiari, just pop it, blow it away. Most probably it's going to cost you 1 Dark Soul. It's okay, just let it go. Next turn, pop it as soon as you can. You know, put it in the graveyard. If you can remove it from it permanently from the game, you can do it as well. Just get rid of the Retiari as soon as possible, so they don't have that ability to, you know, use that remove from play ability again for the rest of the duel. The next card is Chariot. Chariot is honestly a really powerful card against us. If they don't have Retiari, they have this. They attack with Gladiator Beast. They know you have Dark Soul in the graveyard. You're just gonna activate Chariot. Next turn, they're gonna go with Quest, take it back. They can even go like, since you know that back in time when Dark Soul had the old ruling. The old ruling said that Dark Soul activated when he was in the graveyard. Now, thank God they changed the ruling. I mean, they made it one search per card, but they also, on the plus side, they made it like TGs that they activate in the end phase instead of when they actually hit the graveyard. You know, before, you know, it activated when it hit the graveyard because it had to activate each time for one more search per 1 Dark Soul. And then Gladiator Beast players will just go Gladiator Beast, attack, Chariot, the activation of Dark Soul, go into a quest, get the Chariot back and put it again, and then, you know, that was really problematic. And it's still problematic right now. Chariot is honestly a solid card against us. Your best bet is using cards like Trap Stun, MST, Heavy Storm. Use any kind of, you know, spell trap removal. If you think that, you know, you're going against a Gladiator Beast deck that has just too much back row, I suggest using cards like Dust Tornado, Night Shot. It's also really good. Any kind of heavy spell and trap removal that you can have, I will honestly suggest it. Gisarus is the third card that's really problematic against us. Gisarus is honestly really problematic because it blows up a lot of stuff in the field. It pops a lot of stuff, and chances are that you might have a face down Ember's Blade. I mean, and you know, Ember's Blade being popped is honestly one of the worst things you can have because it's something even worse than Dark Soul. You know, at least Dark Soul you can search, but then if they pop Dark Soul, they attack with a Gisarus, and they tag into a Retiari, and they tag into another Gladiator, and they remove their Dark Soul, but they have they have 2 Gladiators in the field. You know, Gisarus is a big threat against x-sabers. It makes too much field presence, pops a lot, makes a lot of minuses against us. So you really gotta watch out of the guards. Common counters against this card: Torrential Tribute, Bottomless Trap Hole, Effect Bailer, Fiendish Chain, you know, just ways to put him out of the field. If he actually gets an attack and he actually tags, remove the Gladiator Beast that come by his effect as soon as possible, because you know, chances are next turn he's just gonna go into a Herc, and a Herc also hurts a lot our deck because it's basically a, you know, almost Dark Bribe on legs, and you really have to watch out for that. Alright, so let's move on to a card that I actually talked about in the last video. Nobleman Crossout. Honestly, this card's no longer used anymore. I mean, but you know, you can also see some. I placed it here because first it's an x-saber counter. I mean, it was used against x-sabers when they were in the top prime back in 2010 and 2011. But you know, it's slowly decreased usage, and it's no longer used as much anymore. But some rogue decks you might play around in your locals might use this main deck, sometimes even maybe side deck, because you know, like people that play sheep, you know, they don't have that many access to cards, so they might use some other common counters like Nobleman Crossout, which is actually a really common card to get. You know, it's common, it's super, you know, it's easy to get. It's not that pricey, and it's actually really effective because, you know, it takes down Dark Soul, but it also takes down Rico and Chaos Dragons. It takes down Sangans set down. It takes down Spirit Reaper set down. So yeah, it takes down a lot of stuff. So it's actually a solid card. It's just that since, you know, the top decks in the meta actually don't set a lot, like back in 2010 when Sabers was the king. So basically this card is not used that much anymore. But you know, common counters, like I said in the last video, placing cards face up instead of placing Ember's Blade face down. Just place them in attack position, let them attack over it. Better than getting no mana cross out. Dark Soul, well, you know, just try to not play Dark Soul from your hand. You know, I know last video I said just place a Dark Soul in attack position, but it's better if you just play other X-saber monsters instead of Dark Soul. And Dark Soul, you just use them to normal summon and sync at the same time. Or you can use them with a Bogart summon. I mean, like summon tuners, and then, you know, when those tuners are in the graveyard, go Bogart into a Dark Soul. So you can, it slows down your game a little bit, but it makes sure that your opponent has a dead card in their hand. If you know that they're playing no mana crossout, just don't resort to setting at all if you know this card is around. Next two cards are the Malicious Combo, Macrocosmos, Dimensional Fissure. These things are a pain in the butt, I'm going to tell you. If you're not prepared for the time this card is on the field, chances are it's GG. You really have to be very careful with these two cards. You know, the good thing about it is they're really easy to beat. You know, if you have MST or if you have Trap Stun, you're okay. But, you know, the trickiest one to get around is Fissure, because Fissure is a magic card. You know, I mean, with Macro is actually a trap card, so you can actually trap stun it, and it's okay. But, you know, Fissure is a magic card, so it's only like MST. Or a Hyunlei if you want to make the sacrifice and you know, remove from play 2 Sabers. But sometimes you have to make the sacrifice. I mean, I had to go through it, but, you know, I'm going to tell you very honestly, it's worth it. Other ways to go around Fissure is making XYZ monsters like Leviathan Dragon. Just go into Leviathan Dragon, you know, and you put the Dark Soul in the graveyard. So you can then, later on, when you draw an MST, you can destroy this Fissure, go into Fall Troll, revive the Dark Soul, and take it away from there. But yeah, XYZ monsters, since the XYZ materials are not considered as monsters when they're attached to an XYZ material monster, when they get detached, they just go to the graveyard. So it plays around Fissure. Doesn't work with Macro though. Macro is any card. So now XYZ materials, they go banished. So Macro, you know, that's the downside about Macro, that, you know, it's a little bit harder to play against, but, you know, it has more counters like Trap Stun, like I told you, 7 Tools to the Bandit, stuff like that. You know, just be very careful about this card. Try to predict it as much as possible. I mean, common decks that use this card as a counter in side decks are Insectors, Hieratic, Rabbit also uses this as a. There's even a Rabbit build that uses this main deck. It's called Macro Rabbit. Obviously, Macro decks use this main deck. Macro Sorn uses this main deck. You know, any deck that really doesn't rely that much on the graveyard can use Macrocosmos and get away with it. Macrocosmos is also a very common card around, because Insectors are also really hurt by this card. So, you know, chances are you're really going to be seeing Macrocosmos a lot in your locals as a common counter to your x-saber deck. Next card is Grapha, Dragon Lord of Dark World. These are honestly the only two most powerful counters in x-sabers right now. Why Grapha? I mean, Grapha just pops a lot of stuff. You really gotta be careful when you're setting in with Grapha around. You know, when you're playing against a Dark World deck, you know, don't resort to playing stuff like Ember's Blade alone with no protection at all. You know, chances are they're just gonna go Grapha, pop the Ember's Blade. You already lost a card, no advantage again, no nothing. You just lost it, and they got a lot of advantage, and they're already on a good position against you. So be careful about Grapha. Always resort to, don't waste any good spells on him like Darko and stuff like that unless you really need to. Because, you know, Grapha's just going to keep coming back. But, you know, a way to keep Grapha dead in the graveyard is by actually destroying the monster that's summoning. Chances are that he's going to go into a Brow, or he's going to go into a Beige. You bottomless the Beige, you bottomless the Brow. Or you actually could do it the other way around. you can wait for them to go into the Graphite, and you bombless the Graphite, and he's gone for good. That's actually something that I actually personally do a lot of times. But stuff like Solemn Warning and stuff, don't waste that stuff on Graphite. He's just gonna keep coming back, and he's gonna make you waste life points. The other card is Gold, Warlord of Dark World. I mean, Gold back in the day in 2010. This card they used as a side deck against x-sabers, because Fake Baiter didn't exist back then, and we could just go create a Rescue Cat, 2 x-sabers, Fall Troll, go into the Garden of Sloop, ridiculous. But yeah, so Gold was actually one of the most common counters to use against x-sabers, because they discarded Gold, so boom, blow up 2 cards in the field, and you already have a massive advantage right there with 23 monster. Gold is actually one of the most powerful cards. One of the most dangerous cards when you're attacking with Airbellum or discarding with Gothams against Dark World. I'm gonna be very honest. I mean, you shouldn't be afraid to discard against Dark World. You shouldn't. I mean, cause aside from Grapha, Snow. Well, they're gonna special summon a card in their graveyard. All right. Well, what are they gonna do with an x-saber? What are they gonna do? Chances are they're gonna revive an Ember's Blade. So if you destroy the Ember's Blade, you get another saber. But if they get a Dark Soul, well, okay, they got a Dark Soul, so what? And they get a Search. Alright. Aside from Graphite and Gold, any other Dark World monster that we discard is actually not that dangerous. Maybe Brow, because we give him a lot of advantage, but honestly, Gold, Silva, chances are you already used all your entire hand in the push, and you're gonna regain it in the end phase, not right now. So Silva, so it's not that powerful. But Gold, yeah, he's really tough, because he's just gonna blow up your 2 most important monsters in the field, and bye bye. Bye bye your push. Another card that Dark World uses against us is Mind Crush. Now this one is really deadly, and it's honestly very hard to predict. It's really hard. It's like you never know when this card can go off. You really gotta be careful what you search. When you're going against Dark World, be mindful of what he has. Like he has some face downs. Try to play around Mind Crush. Just don't search for that important Fall Troll. Don't search for that. Try to don't take the risk. Play it safe. Search for other x-sabers. Let the Fall Trolls in the deck, you draw them out. Just draw them out. If you really need that Fall Troll, then search it. But mind you, I'm gonna tell you, the chances is he has a Mind Crush there, and he's gonna do it. A common play that I see is drag down into Mind Crush. Is very common in Dark World. You really have to be very careful with this card. So Fall Troll is honestly the most important card. The most powerful target to use against x-saber with Mind Crush is Fall Troll. So try to keep the Fall Trolls in the deck. Run a Pot of Avarice. Pot of Avarice is amazing x-sabers. Please run it. Mind Crush. Pot of Avarice will actually help against a Mind Crush to recover those Fall Trolls. But yeah, you really have to be careful with your Fall Trolls, because Fall Troll is gonna be the #1 public enemy against Mind Crush. It's devastating. I've been there, done that. It's very devastating. And then, not only Mind Crush, but Deck Devi. This thing is like Dark World was doing freaking Card Crush on us. Forget Crush Card. Crush Card doesn't have anything on this guy when it comes to us. A well-timed Deck Devi can take out Dark Souls in hand, Full Knights in hand, a bunch of cards. Thank God my build runs more Rebellums than Full Knight. I actually don't run any Full Knight right now. I actually run one. Now I decided to run one, trying to try that out. But had we been playing a build from back in 2011 when it was 3 Fulm or nothing, Deck Devi boom, bye-bye. I mean, this card, they actually used it a lot against, it's been a constant side deck card against X-sabers ever since 2010. You know, I remember Blackwings using this card. They would like play Sirocco, set a deck Devi, and you know, it was GG from there. Like, it's a very powerful card against us. It's basically a crush card virus, you know, against X-sabers. So you also have to watch out about this card. How to fight Mind Crush and deck Devi, Trap Stun, Night Shot, MST, Heavy Storm, any kind of, you know, removal you can get. You know, just be careful around it. Try to predict it as much as possible. If you see that he's playing a lot of big monsters and he's setting a lot of traps, chances are he has a virus in there. So be very careful. Don't play too hasty. Don't show a lot of cards in hand. Don't try to be too predictable. You know, play slow, play unpredictable. Like, set some monsters if you want. Like, so, you know, like, keep him hiding. But yeah, I mean, if he destroys Dark Soul in the field, it's okay. But if he destroys it in the hand, not so good. You know, doesn't activate the effect of Dark Soul if he destroys it in the hand. Alright, so another common counter. 2 hand traps to bury... I actually forgot a third one. Max C. Yeah, the trio, the hand trap trio. Effect Baiter, DD Crow, and Maxi. Alright. These three, they're really tough against X-sabers. The number 1 public enemy, I will be honest, it's this one. I mean, Maxi depends on you having other hand traps like Gores and Veiler. The number 1 public enemy, DD Crow. You know, Veiler, we can get around it. DD Crow, not so much. You know, why DD Crow is so bad? Well, I mean, there's nothing worse than Faltro, target Dark Soul in the graveyard to the special summon DD Crow. Nothing worse than attack, got him C-Call, target 2, DD Crow. You know, this card is balls against us. I mean, it's just balls. And it's really because it's very disruptive. It disrupts our Gotham C-Call, disrupts our Dark Soul searches, disrupts our Fall Troll special summons. It's very dangerous. You know, we really have to watch out for this card. Common decks that play this card as a common side deck are Insectors, because it's dark. The DD Crow is dark. Twilight, because the DD Crow is dark. Chaos Dragons, because the DD Crow is dark. Black Wings, because it's a winged beast. They can use it for Icarus' father, and it's dark as well. Any dark deck, any dark base deck, you know, Elemental Heroes also even use this sometimes. A lot of decks actually use this card a lot. 6 Sams, even X-sabers themselves. I mean, I use 3 of this guy in my side deck because DD Crow is just that disruptive. It's really good. It's really good. And then, you know, second place goes for Maxi. Honestly, you know, Maxi. They play a Maxi. They're gonna get a bunch of advantage out of us because, you know, they're gonna end up with like 12 plus cards in hand if we go into a full push. And you know, the thing is, Maxi, theoretically, if they didn't have Vader in the deck, or they used up all the Vaders, and you actually play the Gotham Sloop, then technically we can actually outdraw them, and we can, you know, make them lose because they draw a lot of cards from the deck. But as soon as they draw Vader and they Vader Gothams, it's over. It's over. You know, so, you know, Maxi gets second place because honestly, you know, our deck, it's heavily reliant on special summons, and you know, you really gotta be very careful. So how do you combat Maxi? Well, you know, it's all about judgment. You know, you really have to make a judgment call. I mean, he goes Maxi. Do you have game? Do you really have game? Do you think that he doesn't have a Gores? Do you think he plays Gores? He doesn't play Gores. Chances are, if he runs Maxi, he plays Gores. There's a high chance. But are you willing to take the risk? I mean, or do you have a Solemn Warning in one of your set cards that you can go and negate the Gore summon or the Tragoedia summon? Does he have Battle Fader? You know, if you think you can take the game right there, then I suggest you go for it. I mean, trust your instincts, just go for it, and try to win. Otherwise, as soon as you go Bogart and he goes max C, let him draw a card, try to set some protection, pass the turn. Try to live the turn, next turn you blow up. Because otherwise, he's just going to get a massive advantage, and you really have to be very careful about that. Alright, and Valor, well, you know, Valor's just Valor. You know, he's Valor. I mean, what else can I say about him? Just, you know, actually, Valor is really easy to play around with sabers, because, you know, we got a lot of cards that actually can force this dude beforehand. You know, cards like Airbellum. And we can also play the setting game. You know, honestly, we really don't need to depend on Bogart that much. You know, Bogart is actually like a last resort push. You know, before Effect Valor, Bogart was everything, but now, you know, we can use him as a last resort, and we can even actually, and sometimes even use him to force a Valor. You know, to make a feint. But, you know, best way to go against Valor, just set a couple monsters, have some field presence. Emmer's Blade helps a lot with this too. And then just, you know, make your swarm. And he's going to be like, honestly, he's going to be like, what do I Valor? You know, it's like, I have one Valor in hand, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? It's like, Valor is most powerful when you depending on Bogart. If you depend too much on Bogart, Valor's going to eat your ass. But if you don't depend on Bogart, if you depend more on Emmer's Blade or Gotham's Call and stuff like that, he's honestly, he's not gonna have any targets for the Valor. He's not gonna know. He's not gonna know what to do. You know, chances are he Vader's a fall troll. You go into a second fall troll. He's like, well, okay, I'll special summon anyway. So yeah. Alright, I got Thunder King. Yeah, Thunder King, #1 public enemy. This thing, everything that is this thing is anti-x-saber. This guy says, this guy is not Thunder King, he is x-saber Obliterator. That's his name. You know, his 2 effects can be used against us. His first effect that doesn't allow any cards to be added to the hand unless it's drawing. It kills us. It kills Dark Soul. Tag Dark Soul with Thunder King. Alright, end phase. You can't search. Thunder King. You know. And then I summon Fall Troll. Alright, Tribute. Gone. You know, both effects are really good against the Thunder King. Is one of the most powerful side deck counters against X-Sabers ever. Ever. Since 2010. Since always. Hornet. Another public enemy, you know, and Sectors honestly is a really cool deck and all. It was all fun and games, so this guy came. You know, this is what made Insectors our #1 worst matchup in the entire history of Yu-Gi-Oh! So far. You know, this guy's just, you know, pop. He makes Dark Soul useless, Emmer's Blade useless, Gotham's Call useless, cards like Dimensional Prison and Bottomless Trap Hole useless. This guy's just pop. So, chances to, you know, ways to combat the Insector Hornet threat, well, you know, Valor the Insector that's coming in, Finley Chain the Valor that's coming in. By the way, pro tip that Krolos actually taught me today. Always wait for the Insector to be equipped before going to the Valor or Fiendish Chain. When you Fiendish Chain an equipped Insector, that you know that is effect resolved, the Insector equipped to the Insector to the other Insector falls off and goes to the graveyard, and no effect is activated. So basically, I go Dragonfly effect, I equip Hornet, I go Valor, Hornet falls off, didn't blow up a card, and Dragonfly doesn't get his effect because it's negated. It's a really cool ruling that it can actually be used in your favor when going against Insectors. Doesn't apply for Forbidden Lands though. That's why Insectors uses Forbidden Lands to protect themselves. But it does apply for Fiendish Chain and Effect Valor. So keep that in mind when going against Hornet. Other common counters are Mystical Space Typhoon. Just...